So I want to thank our sponsors for our federal policy briefing series, Atmos Energy, the City of Richardson, Charter Communications, Dallas College, the Richland campus, National Write Your Congressman, and Texas Instruments. And we've saved the best for last. Our good friend Pete Sessions is with us this morning, and Randy Ford is going to moderate the discussion. So Randy, take it away.
Great. Thank you, Bill. And yeah, great to have Congressman Sessions with us. And for a lot of us on the phone, doesn't need much of an introduction, but for some, he represented the Richardson area, the congressional district that represented Richard for, I lost count, 16 years or so, I think roughly, a long time. And did a lot of great things. I see the mayor nodding his head, just worked so well together with the city and with the chamber, and a lot of things were done together. And he obviously knows our city and our business community and our people well, and the leaders in the community. So we thought it would be good, a good day today to wrap up our federal policy week with a longtime friend who moved just a little bit to the south, now represents the 17th congressional district, which, as he mentioned, is kind of a triangle of from Waco down to Bryan College Station over to the northeast area of Austin, and kind of back up I-35 to Waco. So a lot more geography to cover. There's two pretty significant universities that are within that, that I think some on the phone, some on the Zoom today have already acknowledged, but Texas A&M.
Don't forget Texas A&M. Bill
Texas A&M
there's only one.
That was my next words out of my mouth. Texas A&M, whoop whoop, and the Baylor Bears. So two great universities in our state are now in Congressman Sessions' district, and are a big part of his relationships that he has there. But so Congressman Sessions, why don't we, I know you, again, a lot of us know that you chaired the Rules Committee for a number of years when you represented Texas 32. What's changed now as you're back in office in Texas 17? And you've got a couple committees, new committees that you're a part of. You were part of the Financial Services Committee for a number of years, but you're on two new committees now. Why don't you start out, just tell us a little bit about what your responsibilities are in those committees and what they do. And you're also a ranking member of one of the subcommittees.
Coach Ford, thank you very much. And let me say this, I encourage anybody to ask me any question that they want. I will be what I believe is assuming going back on financial services that will be on or about May the 15th. Upon re-entering Congress, made it very clear to people that I would be not starting over. I would bring intellectual curiosity and content from my past, but that we're in the minority and that we need to work for the things that would sell our party, our ideas. And I felt like I could do that best by not replacing anyone and creating a circumstance that it might be seen negatively by anybody. And so I said that I would not come to the Financial Services Committee till there was an opening. In fact, former chairman of the NRCC, Steve Stivers, is now leaving Congress May the 15th. That will open up that slot. We can privately tell you that I will not be taking any subcommittee ranking membership there yet this time. I will be sitting in essence as the second highest seniority on the committee on the Republican side. Chairman Lucas, who was chairman of the Agriculture Committee, used to sit to my left. I will now sit to his left. He has an extra term or two on me. So I think he was class of 94, so he has one term on me, but Frank and I are very close. I serve on two other committees that I did my first term in Congress. One's called Science and Technology. That is chaired by Eddie Bernice Johnson, who is from Dallas. I also serve on Government Reform, which I also was on going back to my first term in Congress. I serve as the ranking member of a subcommittee there that is responsible, has the government oversight, among other things, of the border, of U.S. elections, of things that deal with law and criminal civil justice. I handle things that deal with which are still in the news. FISA. There was a report out the other day about the FBI not following the law on a regular basis as they apply foreign intelligence. As a son of a former director, I don't want to make apologies for them, but I will tell you that if you understand the business, lines are blurred a lot. The problem that I have is when they are intentional and they are political. And we are in the midst of seeing that happen now. And the FBI must be held accountable. The Department of Justice must be held accountable. And I would say to you that it's really simple for us to say the FBI is the problem. It's DOJ. DOJ has arm wrestled the FBI and put them in a subservient, tight hold over their neck and is asking FBI agents to do things. Okay. Here's what I would say to you that is either very destructive or just different. Depends how you look at it. The differences between this majority and even the last majority are overwhelming in their substance, appearance, and characteristics. Even the U.S. Chamber up in Washington, D.C. has flipped. And I wish we could explain it. I can't. I'm not anti-chamber, but we've got Houston, we have a problem. And that is that one party is willing to completely change what we know as federalism. Federalism and constitutional nature that we have grown up on. We've grown up where there is respect for Article 1, Article 2, and Article 3. Article 1, legislature, the Congress of the United States. Article 2, the administration. Article 3 clearly is judiciary. And there is an attempt by Article 2 and 1, because they can, to as a wholly owned subsidiary of them, to pack the court to get the answer confirmed that they wanted. This is very dangerous to me, not just as a conservative Republican, not just as a Texan, but as an American. It is dangerous. It is the characteristics that other countries called China, Russia, Venezuela, Cuba, where the person who is in charge can put a stranglehold on everyone with virtual contempt. And it is important for us to know that the Congress of the United States, called the United States House of Representatives, has passed legislation that would completely override the United States Constitution. It would go to one party in power. The President of the United States has even suggested, he claims, oh, well, I just said it, where he's not even sure there will be a Republican Party. The goal of the majority should be to achieve the things that they want. I've been in the majority 2 different times and been in the minority also. But it should not be, just as it shouldn't be, that the hawk out here eat all the rabbits and then starve to death. If one party controls everything, it is a quick slide to where they control and own everything, and we become a socialist, communist country. Now, some would say to me, you can't use that word communist. Well, yes, I can. All you have to do is go look at Medicare for All. Medicare for All outlaws any private insurer or doctor for providing anything that they would be paid for. unless the government contracts it and pays for it. That is communism. Socialism is when they compete against the free enterprise system. We are on a slippery slope here, and $6 trillion is the proud figure that our president is willing to say would be spent in 1 year. It is based on dividing the country. So, as an example of how powerful this is, the infrastructure bill that has been touted by the president, that is only by the president and his administration and Democrats in Congress, only 6% of the infrastructure bill is for roads and bridges. Of $2.3 trillion, only 6%. The rest of it will be given, as the $400 billion was given, to communities that are where they have solid total democratic control, where they have driven their free market out of their city, where they have driven free enterprise and business out of their city, and all that is left is government. And they do need help. They do, but $400 billion was just given to them. These cities now want the other $2 trillion to come to them so that they can do what they would do in their own cities. And it is not to build value or investment. It is to shore up socialism and to have those cities then have the money to where they can run business out of their cities. And this includes Denver, this includes Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, this includes Atlanta and other places that the cities will get the money, and they are controlled by people who will devour the free enterprise system because they don't need their money anymore. It will now come from Washington. So that's a very not a narrow view. This is actually, I'm midstream in this because I deal with members of the Democratic Party who are older people who've been around for 10 and 12 years. Dutch Rupertsberger, who is from Maryland, Greg Meeks, who is from New York. There is an attack in their party on them. Carolyn Maloney, the chairwoman of the government reform, Henry Cuellar, who had to fend off a complete leftist. Their party is going through on the left what my party did with the Tea Party. And so we have to see this not as quote Republicans and all this kind of stuff, but rather people who believe and see in a constitutional government, in free enterprise, in a government that works with people, not that owns them. And Mr. President, Mr. Spruill, I'm here to tell you that you have several of those people right around your area who complained about why wasn't I more bipartisan, and they are 99 or 100% behind this adventure of towards running at this. And the culprits seemingly have advocates in the media. So, Coach, that's where we are. So I'm trying to be the adult in the room with some Democrats. And as those people have spoken up just as they are being taken on in their party. Carolyn Maloney will now be challenged for her trying to work towards incrementally moving this country to the direction it needs to go. I don't mind if they win and they move, their agenda. I do mind if they destroy the system, and this is destroying the system. And as hard as this is, you have to really recognize that's where they want to head. Once again, it's about 40%, maybe 50% of their members, but it is clearly a fast-moving stream. This is not slow. This will happen. They think they can get the 6 trillion. That is on top of regular spending that is more than enough to run the government. They want an extra $6 trillion. They will replace the free enterprise system in their towns. The city will run the banks. The city will run the healthcare. The cities will run the healthcare system. The cities will run these police departments, whatever they are. There will be no more independent school districts. There will be no more free enterprise system. They don't need your money. They will replace it off of and the last part here that's really dangerous, and they're doing this with a 5-vote margin in the House and a 0-vote margin in the Senate, or +1. And so that's where now is time for us to see it's not what is going to hurt our children or grandchildren. It's what's going to happen next year in this country. Sir, thank you.
Well, thank you for that sobering sort of reality of what it, certainly on the House side has, with HR 1 and some of these other bills. It's certainly appears like a direct attack on free enterprise and businesses and
capitalism.
And we can only hope that the Senate will prevent and stop some of the madness that you described. You mentioned part of your jurisdiction, if you will, or your committee work is the border security. I know you were down there recently. Give us kind of your perspective from seeing it firsthand, talking to our border patrol officers and some of the local officials. A lot of ugly imagery and perhaps some denial of what's going on. What's your perspective from being down there recently?
Well, Coach, thank you. The facts of the case, it's not just my illusion. It is what is given to us point blank is the administration has placed and will place with the new addition of the sheriff who is from Harris County, a circumstance that will overlay at least our southern border. We will fail to have a border. It will be open borders. We already have 6 times the number of drugs, fentanyl, heroin, meth. I'd like to pass to you. I've got to be careful. I will pass it to Coach Ford and Bill Spruill and ask that he share it with you on a privacy basis. The drug cartels, it's a video about the drug cartels that made $500 million in the month of February, January and February. By the way, this is tax-free, $1 billion. The border is, you and I have supposed from our history that it was important for any nation to be able to respect and control its own borders. This is to do away with ICE in this country. It is to do away with the Border Patrol. It is to allow our borders to be unfettered access. The people who pay the price, just like what we've known in the African American community or the Hispanic community or the Asian community, those people that essentially are from those areas attack them first. The Asian mafia on Asian people is unrelenting. The Hispanic drug cartels are unrelenting to those families. And then they make their money off others, but they are willing to take the amount of fentanyl alone would kill every single American 5 times. And what they do is they use it now to sprinkle, instead of necessarily what it's for. They're sprinkling it around, much like cocaine was in the 80s, 70s, and 80s. They are hooking people off a feeling that is 1,000 times more than regular morphine. It is embedding itself in our college campuses. They sprinkles just in marijuana. It is being done to college campuses. And if you think the opioid addiction was rough, that was intentional. That was not accidental. That was intentional. And where we are headed with fentanyl is someone that does not even know it. They sprinkle it in their stuff. They've got someone here at Texas A&M every day. They learn about a new person that commits suicide, a person that wanders off, a woman who finds herself at a party, who thought she was around people, who disappears. It is across our country. This is where we're headed if we do not protect our border. If there is no defense offered, no one is safe. So yes, sir, I will tell you it is desperate. They have moved 90% of their people off their normal jobs and put them at Donna, Texas, or these detention centers that I was in. I had a polite adult conversation with the administration. Ted Cruz had been there. Senator Cruz, in his own marketability, wanted to have a fight, wanted there to be confrontation, I believe. I chose when our members who were like that confronted the administration, I stepped in real fast and I said, ma'am, you're 25 years old. You're from El Paso, Texas. You report to the administration and the commissioner. I want you to know we will not get in your way and you will not get in our way. I am here on official business by the United States Congress. I am responsible for oversight. We will not bully you. You will not bully us. But if you violate the law, I will have a contempt of Congress on you quickly. Because if we're in an open society, we haven't gotten where you think we are, where you can hide everything. I told her, I think you're a nice woman, but we're not going to bully you and you are not going to bully us. She stayed by my side. She's 26, 25 years old. She didn't stand a chance from then. If we confront people with a negative perspective, they will respond in kind. If we professionally approach people, they will respond, I think, in kind. We need to be the adults. We need to be like Gary Slagle as mayor of Richardson. I will just say this, when the buzzards and the mean people were after the city council, our mayor, Gary Slagle, stood up and took it for John or anybody else, Steve, on the council. And he said, I am one of you as an elected representative, but I was elected by my peers to stand up. Gary Slagle is the kind of professional person. I am trying to be like that as a person who wants to be responsible. We have to be good to each other, but we do not have to capitulate ourselves to where we can't ask the tough question.
Okay. The question that was asked yesterday, and Texas is now, we know through the census, going to gain 2 seats at the loss of other states. California, New York, Michigan, and others are losing. You were around for the last redistricting. Can you give us any insight or a sense as to where those districts might be, how that process is going to go through? I know obviously the Texas legislature will decide that in a special session that probably won't start before September till the data is released. Do you have any thoughts or any insight into that?
I have an opinion, Coach Ford, but I don't know that I have insight except for there's a lot of knowledge on this call. It's not having a long tooth, it's having a memory. And what I would suggest to you is that a lot of people think it's easy just to say, well, Texas is going to get 2 new Republicans. I would caution you to know that my opinion is only my opinion at this point. I have expressed it. I had a complete leadership role, one that's put me in the epicenter of the decision that took place 10 years ago. I am not there right now. I could find myself in that role, but it's not developed itself only because we just got the numbers. What I would suggest to you is this, is that the move for Texas to get 2 is interesting and surprising. We felt like that we were going to get 3. Getting 2 is a different scenario mathematically. As you know, our state is growing. As you know, there are profound implications of this growth. For instance, Austin, Texas. If you think we got a lot of growth in North Texas, we did. If you think Plano and Collin County were targeted by out of India as the #1 location for every person coming to the United States was Collin County, Texas, where previously it had been LA. You're right. And so that's where people moved. McGregor, Texas, which is in McLennan County, which is about 6 miles from my house, is home to SpaceX. SpaceX and Tesla are moving to Texas. It's an obvious desire that they have. And so you're going to see where what might be Hutto, Texas, which is down in Williamson County, grow by a factor of 8 over the next few years, just by virtue of there wasn't very big, but they're going to grow to 100,000 new people quickly. People do want to move to Texas. They do want to move out of California. So everything that's happened when we picked up 2 million people the last 10 years, it was essentially the last 5. We're now going to pick up 2 million more in the next 5, in my opinion. And so my party needs to be prepared for that and not just say, so now do mathematical equation. Let's call it division. Division would mean that we would divide in 2 more to the ones that we have, or 1 more, and allow what seemingly is not fairness, but to allow Democrats to be in Democrat seats. That's really what everybody covets. They covet to be around their own instead of someone that's different. Austin, Texas is epicenter for this liberalism, not just Democrats, liberalism. And probably the leader of that effort in Texas for the last 30 years has been, guy's name is Lloyd Doggett. Lloyd Doggett was dealt with fairly or unfairly, where he goes east of Austin down to San Antonio, a lot of rural area. He wants to go back into Austin. So that would mean Travis County, that he could probably, with their growth, be a sole member for that area and still share part of it with Roger Williams and still part of it with Michael McCall and still share part of it with Chip Roy. What I'm suggesting to you is that I am for us making Republican areas Republicans and Democrat areas, which is what they want, Democrat. And it will mean some dramatic things. I could draw 32 to where it is entirely a Democratic seat, and I could draw the 37th seat where it would be taking most of 32 and making it a Republican seat again. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think if you guys get your head together and think about what's possible, Now, no longer does Texas have to go through pre-clearance. No longer is it said that maps can't be drawn that are political. Hell, they were political to make once a Democrat wins, a minority wins a seat, it's a minority seat. But it doesn't mean, it means you can't get rid of them. It doesn't mean they get to keep the same territory. So I think if we look at, instead of getting rid of someone, if we look at giving them an appropriate district, that is what's in the best interest of my party. That probably means 1-1, Coach, to me.
Good. Well, thank you for that. I think we've kind of run out of our time slot here, right, Bill? We're a little over 11 o'clock. Any other thoughts or questions for Bill or anybody else? Liz?
I have so many questions, I can't think of one.
Okay, so Liz, just so you know, eagle@petesessions.com.
Okay,
I'm easy to get at, and if you do think of something on a one-on-one basis, a philosophic basis, I'm willing to listen,
okay,
and I'm willing to respond. I'm willing to tell you up top what I think, or I'm willing to let you take that position. I think we're more to the point today where we need to see what is happening as opposed to where we want to be. And if we see where we're going, that naturally will be able to draw you to a better conclusion. So once again, thank you for being on, Liz.
sure, thanks.
All right.
Pete, who's
Thank you,
your chief of staff in Washington?
It's a guy named Kirk Bell, and Coach Ford knows him well. We did an event that was a couple weeks ago in Dallas, and it was not well done by me. Ahead of time, we were stressed, but we don't mind making sure that y'all have conversation with my whole staff as need be. And Coach Ford is aware of that. They only have last Thursday begun to open up the Capitol. No one was allowed inside. And as much as I disagree with that, that's reality. So we now need to know, how do we help you think moving forward? There's going to be $6 trillion in the till. And I didn't even get to the last part about that, about how I look at that, because I've got institutions that if we do not help them get money, it will all go only to Democrat cities and Democrat enclaves. I think that's bad.
Yeah, it is bad.
Yeah, I can hardly get my mind around what $1 trillion is. It's unfathomable.
Well, just remember, 1,000 thousands is a million, 1,000 millions is a billion, and 1,000 billions is a trillion.
Yep.
And they're going to do 6 billion thousands, you know? I just.
Well, and we haven't had a discussion about the pay force, which don't seem to matter, right?
Well, they don't, except it's not true, because people will fold their tents.
Mhm.
It's free enterprise, Bill.
Well, and I realize that's where it's going to fall on. And the pay-fors are the votes by Congress to not sequester funding that otherwise would have been triggered under the Budget Reconciliation Act?
Well, it's what the agreement on caps is.
Right, right,
Reconciliation is a different process.
right. Pete, thanks so much for being with us. Really
Yes,
appreciate it. It's good to see you.
I want you to know that this is hard news that I gave you. If anyone has 1% of balance that is different, I encourage you to engage me. I want to shoot straight with you. And I believe that I have not added 1 ounce, not 1 ounce of thing that is not empirically, not only evidentiary, but that is true to where this is headed. And I am beyond shocked. This is happening so rapidly that there is very little thinking about where we intend to go. It is a grab completely for power by one party, even over the instruments of government. And this is how you get a dictatorship.
It is tough news, but you've always shot straight with us, Pete. We appreciate that very much. We missed you. We hope to see you in person sometime soon. You're always welcome here at the Richardson Chamber. Everybody, thanks for being part of our public policy or federal policy briefing series. And with that, we are concluded for today. I wish you well and see you soon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good to see you.
Good to see you, man.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your great service to not only our nation, but to the people of North Texas and Richardson. Your leadership is sorely missed.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. And thank you for what you
Thank you,
do.
Pete.
And I'm glad you're back.
Thanks, Pete.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Thanks for joining us today.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, thank you, Coach Ford.
All right.